My name is Alex. I have an Instagram and YouTube Love Sugar Show. So I want to thank you for joining the show and taking your time for doing the interview.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So the first question that I ask anyone that I ever interview is how's everything going, not just in your music life, but also in your personal life as well?
All right. Well, I guess the easy answer there would be just that things are busy. Everything's going well, but very busy. So when I'm not playing music, I'm a school teacher. So obviously, as we head into April, May, it's getting close to the end of a school year. So that's keeping me very busy at the moment. So.
Well, that's exciting. Do you do like younger kids, middle school?
Yeah, so I teach third, fourth, and fifth graders, so younger.
Oh, well, that's exciting, depending on how your students act. So I listened to this album and I have to say it was very wonderful. I loved all the guitar riffs, it just flowed so well. So I want to give you kudos on an album well done.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I want to talk about the first song on the album, Denial Patterns. It took me
Mhm.
on like a journey. That's like the only way I can really describe it. What was like the creative process behind it?
So what happens with the music that I write for this band is I always have a story in mind, and then I take that story and create music that tells that story. So when you say it takes you on a journey, that's exactly what I'm hoping it does. So that's great to hear. So it being the first song on the album, it is kind of establishing the whole theme of the album, which is it's the denial patterns refers to just basically somebody not accepting that there might be a problem. So and I see this a lot of times with people. It's just that acceptance of, who I am as a person. Is there something wrong? And if there is something wrong, as opposed to trying to get help or do something about it, a lot of times people just kind of deny their way through it and don't really try to improve themselves, make the situation better. So that is kind of the establishing point for the song, which is the denial pattern itself. The music, so there was a couple reference points for that. So I wanted it to be very much of an introduction. So that's why the song kind of has that long build. But it
Yeah.
also, I really wanted it to have a continuity from the last album. So that song, if you ask me, sounds the most like the most previous. So I kind of liked having it pick up where the last one left off and then move it into a very different direction from the last album. But still with the first piece having a little bit of a reference point to the previous one. So that's why it sounds like that. But then also, like I said, I wanted it to be this intro kind of piece. So it kind of meanders for a while, kind of building and building and building until it gets to that point.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I went on a journey and I was like, okay, like the only word I could describe for it is journey. It's just like there's so much in one song. So
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
so
That was intentional. So I'm glad to hear that it's being heard that way. So.
yeah, for sure. So I do want to ask, what was kind of like your mindset or, like your thoughts? What were you putting into this album when you were creating it?
So the last album that I wrote for this band was very much me trying to go all out prog. There's a 22-minute long song, 13-minute long song. And so it was really me just stretching like how much music can I put into these
Hmm.
bigger forms. I really wanted to try to do something different with this one. And while I wouldn't say that these are songs or pop song um, formats, I really tried to shorten them. So of the six songs, four of them are 8 minutes. So I mean, I trimmed it down a little bit at least, I would say. And then two of them are actually 6 minutes long, which that's pretty good for what I've done previously with this band. So I was trying to like just make them a little more compact. And that I believe I succeeded since, I trimmed down from 22-minute long songs but also make them feel a little more song related.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little bit more like a fusion format, more so than the progressive rock. Just 22 kind of minutes of, and that's again the reference to the first song. I would believe that actually does kind of sound a little bit like the Ironic Divide, the previous album. And I think we go into a little bit more of a song format from songs two, and I think it ends a little different again with the title track, Dysphoria Ritual, but the rest of the journey is a little bit more, I would say I went specifically trying to create something that felt a little more accessible, if maybe
Mm-hmm.
not, maybe an okay word to say. Um, and so that was definitely like a point of that I wanted to attack when I started writing this music. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I really went all in, especially the band has kind of been known for the really dark tones. And
Yeah.
this one, I allowed myself to throw in a little bit of music that it wasn't as maybe necessarily as dark. The subject matter still kind of is there, but I definitely threw in some different palette colors, I would say, into this album that I hadn't done previously.
So is that something like new that you were trying for this album, or has it been something you've been thinking about doing?
No, it's just that I believe the subject matter, like the funeral, the one of the songs I mean I'm trying to create in this that there are some bright moments in this person's life. It's kind of a story of a person kind of going into isolation. So trying to show that there's moments. I didn't want all those moments to just be completely dark. So I wanted there to be some more uplifting moments that kind of showed through the music and told that story that there's um, these glimpses of hope, so to speak, and that was intentional by putting some of that kind of music in there.
I think everyone can use a little hope nowadays. So
Yeah, especially when you come up with these like darker concepts or whatever. I mean, it's funny because I come up with these very dark concepts, and my personal life is like the opposite of it. I'm a very happy person and stuff. So it's a little bit, I would say, I read a review or an interview with Darren Aronofsky, and they were asking him about the tone of his films, and something really stuck with me. He said, I can write about these very I mean, he did Requiem for a Dream, and that's talk about a dark film.
yeah.
He said I could write about these topics because my life is very different. So to me, it's just like writing fantasy, and so a little bit of that, I would say, I kind of the same idea for me. It's like I come up with these darker concepts, but it's suppose easier for me to write about them and tell these stories because they're kind of foreign to me. It's just like a made up story in my mind, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I never thought about it that way, but so I want to ask, what is like the heaviest thing emotionally that you put into this album?
Uh, well, I would say, like non-musically, the emotional part of doing a project like this is just the amount of time and energy it
Hmm.
takes. A lot of this is me. So it starts with me writing all the music, then it starts with me writing the demos of the music, and then it turns into me taking these guys into the studio and recording them. And
Hmm.
so where, we have drums, weekend or week or whatever, I'm in the studio the entire time with them as well. And then we
Yeah.
move to guitar and I'm in the studio again with them. And like where they come and go and they do their parts and then I don't see them for a while, like I'm the constant.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just these albums take a long time, and that's unfortunately we tend to take too long with when it comes to this stuff. So after we finished the last one in 2021, I really tried to make there be a shorter gap, and here
Hmm.
we are 5 years later, finally putting out the new one. So these things tend to take time, and so I would say the biggest drain on me is just that. It's just that there's a lot of time and energy that I put into these things. And because it's, me thinking about this and essentially for 5 years, um, it all just it has its cost of like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait for it to come out finally, because then it's like finally all this the 5 years of this buildup is just in the past. So I would say that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I think it's the hardest part is waiting. You're like, okay, just come out already.
Yeah. And I really wish we could work faster. It just doesn't seem to work for us. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually interviewed a band earlier today and they said, I wish we could just release it the same day and be done with it so I don't have to wait. And I'm like, but he's like, I know it doesn't work like that. So,
Yeah. Well, the recording process like that, plus then like we were gonna put it out last year and then just all of us got very busy
hmm
and I knew there would be no real way to promote it at that time, so we held on to it a little longer. So things like
Yeah,
that happen too, and where it's just you got to find the right time so you can put more energy into it at that point then. So
for sure. And one thing is, I know most bands usually rely on lyrics to kind of get the emotion or the feelings across. So, how do you incorporate that without using lyrics when it's mostly just guitar and drums? And how do you put the
yeah,
emotion in?
yeah. So that I think where how I approach that is I think of the music I write like a soundtrack, and I'm a big fan of listening to soundtracks.
hmm
And if you listen to your favorite film soundtrack, you realize how important of a role it actually plays. And sometimes you don't even realize, like, I'm somebody who actually listens to the music and makes a point of that being something I do in films.
Yeah,
But sometimes people don't even realize that the soundtrack was there, but if you were to remove it, they would realize how quickly how much it played a role. Well, I
yeah,
kind of think of it the same way. So, yes, it doesn't have the lyrics to tell the story, but in my mind, it is it's if there's a movie there, it's just that this is the soundtrack underneath that movie.
hmm
So is it a little bit of a louder soundtrack, more in your face? Of course, because it's a little, gets a metal and it becomes heavier and stuff. But it still is that soundtrack. So when
yeah,
moments are quiet in the story, so to speak, the music gets quieter. That's where it's intentional, like the song placing and the songs where there's slowdowns. That's because there would be a hypothetical scene, I suppose, in my mind of where
yeah.
the film is going, that's where that would take place. So that's kind of how I approach this music is that think of it like a soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, if it did exist, what kind of movie would it be? Like, what kind of story?
Well, I think that's where, like, I think of the Darren Aronofsky references. I think it would have a very dark tone. I mean, the story. I like to take these Aziola Cry albums into individual stories of somewhat dissent.
hmm
And so this one is just kind of that, like, it started with just kind of thinking of this idea of, the society and how depression numbers have gone up and all these kind of things. And just like,
Yeah,
what is the result or what is the cause of this? And then what is the result of it? And then I kind of start creating an individual storyline for a particular character. And so this particular character is kind of seeing his descent into isolation where um, society doesn't fit in society anymore. And so it's kind of like retreating into a world of loneliness, I suppose.
yeah,
And so um, I guess that would be the film. It would be this darker tone where it starts out a little more bright and it's got its moments of maybe coming out of this, but then ultimately ending up kind of like as I'm looking at the cover there in this house alone, just kind of like being in the middle of nowhere, kind of
hmm
dealing with the issues this character is facing. So,
So I always like to ask, do you like dive deeper into the character? Like, do you know what they look like? Do they have a name? Anything like that? Or is that
oh, I've actually done that for some things. For this one, no, I don't have necessarily. Um, I, one of my things that I did previously did I actually was it was going to get turned into a film. And so I took it a step further and started creating like this is the character, this is the look I'm going for, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I guess I have all that idea, those ideas kind of ready to go if need be, but I don't always take it that far. So with
Hmm.
this one, yeah, I guess I have kind of a thought, a, a visual kind of thought of as to how it would look. But no, I haven't gone as far as to create the actual character name and things like that. It sits more in this like storyboard version of a film, I guess, in my mind, whereas it
Hmm.
I could see kind of where it's going, but I haven't taken anything further to the point of the actual visuals or the actual like I started writing a script for one of these things and then just like I said,
Hmm.
things fell through and I haven't approached it that way. But I'd love to turn one of my concerts. I've actually done a little bit of this. I have a song that I did, a few songs. One, the most recent that I really like is I did a song called Ghost of a Small Child. And
Hmm.
I took some from a ambient composer named Dave Luxton. I took some of his work and I did it was like a remix thing. And I had this story idea, and we turned that into a short film. It's out there on the internet, and I'm quite proud of that because I think it's got a nice little twist of an ending, and it's got a nice message and everything to it. I
Hmm.
recently did that to a song called "My Ethereal Dialogue," where I like do like taking songs and turning them into mini videos, but that's as far as I've been able to, or mini films, that's as far as I've been able to get. I haven't been able to turn it into a full feature length. But one day I'd really like to, because I think that is where most of my music kind of comes from, is that's a film kind of idea.
So if anyone's interested, you got a partner right
There you
here.
go.
So what's kind of like the driving force behind this album?
Um, well, I would say the biggest thing was just kind of so taking us back a little bit further.
Hmm.
There was a long gap in between the second album, which was an EP, and the last album, which came out in 2021. Lots of personal issues, lots of things happened that just basically the band got put on hold.
Hmm.
So when the one came out in 2021, I was very excited about it. It was very well received. And for me, this was just proving that we weren't, I mean, I ended up taking 5 years that it really was a band that didn't just kind of like go away for so long and then come out with, some album and then disappear again. So my
Yeah.
biggest thing with this was like trying to reestablish this as an actual working band. So that was the really one of my biggest goals with this album was just like we've got to get back out there. We've got to prove that this wasn't just, something that kind of happened and then faded. So I went to work right after the last album, like the cycle of promotion and all that stuff ended and really tried to get back out there again. Like I said, it took us a little too long. I would have liked to have had it out sooner, but that was really my guiding force was we got to get back out there and kind of make this band be visible and instead of just something that shows up, disappears kind of a thing.
Hey, better late than never. That's what people always
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So what's like a moment or a song on this album that still hits you like every time you listen to it?
So the title track of the last song is for a couple of reasons. One, I think from a songwriting standpoint, I'm very proud of it. I threw a lot into that, but I also from a playing standpoint. So it's basically Mike the guitarist calls it. He said it's just one long war guitar solo. Um, I don't even know what to do on some of this stuff. So there's a good example of it. It's like I just play my butt off on that song and just like completely I wrote it to just really stretch myself on the
Mhm.
instrument. So that last song, Dysphoria Ritual, kind of stands out for me in that. It also kind of is a glimpse into where, like, kind of like what I like to do with these things is have the last song kind of prelude to the next one, preview the next one, where the first one kind of picks up where the last one left off a little bit musically. So
Hmm.
that last song kind of shows, I think, where my mind is at musically right now, which is um, I've always kind of thought of myself as the bass player in this band, even though I play an extended range guitar with um, bass capabilities, but also guitar capabilities, and I take guitar solos on this music. The last song is kind of taking that to where I'm going with it, and that is um, really stretching the guitar and really like taking the war guitar and making it the instrument on it and using uh, guitar, like traditional guitar, the six string or seven string that Mike plays is more the
Hmm.
coloring over the top as opposed to like being typically speaking, a guitar is the main instrument. And I would say I'm taking this more with the war guitar. The instrument I play is the main instrument and
Hmm.
is adding more of the colors on top of it. And so that song to me kind of says where I'm going with this music and I want to take it further. Plus, like I said, it's maybe my favorite song on the album because it's just from a war guitar standpoint. In fact, I've gone back to try to relearn it to play it live,
Yeah,
and because I haven't played it in a while, and holy moly, I don't know what I was thinking.
that's kind of funny. Were there any kind of risks that you took creatively? Would you say that's the same answer or?
Yeah, no, I would say there are, and I do wonder on this. So the band was progressively getting heavier and heavier,
Hmm.
and I one of the reasons why, so the again, the guitar I play, I was very, if I write it in the way what's natural on the war guitar, it doesn't always fit perfectly to what's natural on a regular guitar. So for the last albums, I was progressively making the music more uh ready to be played on a seven string guitar. So with if it was, like tuning, having songs be in low B so that it fit Mike's low B guitar, so it would be heavy. This time around, I definitely approached it more from like, I'm going to write it more from the war guitar standpoint, which in some cases then puts the key that the songs are in into things that don't turn very heavy on a guitar. So there was a little bit of that in this. And so when I look at this album and there's a song called Withdrawn and Alone that I wanted it to have like a drum feature on it. That
Hmm.
song um, I mean, it definitely doesn't sound like anything we've done in the past. And for that matter, the first song we released, Pervasive Sameness, there's another one that has a little bit of a Middle Eastern twist to it. And that definitely doesn't sound like what the band has done. So I definitely stretched the the palette of what this album was going to be.
Hmm.
And so I don't, it, we'll see how like the people that wanted us to get heavier and heavier, that's the one thought I have is like, oh, are they going to see that we didn't take this one step further heavy? I would say almost maybe took a step. Not it's not like it's not heavy, but it's not as heavy as the last one maybe.
Yeah.
So that would be probably the thing that comes to mind in terms of like taking a risk. Like I don't know. I'm curious to see how it goes over just based on like I think from a mature level and a playing level, it's by far the best thing we've done. But yeah, sometimes people just really like heaviness, and I gotta admit, I'm the same way. Like when my bands go a little less heavy, I'm always like, oh. So now I'm wondering like why do I do exactly what I don't love that my favorite bands sometimes do? But we'll see.
I mean, as someone who's like a baby amateur guitarist, I really appreciate guitar solos now because I'm like, yeah, I know how hard it is now. And I think that's one thing I really loved about the album is there's just so much guitar and it's just good from like start to end. And it's just like, you can appreciate it more and you're like, yeah, that's really hard to do.
Yeah, well, one of the things I like to do is work with complex rhythms too. So again, the instrument I play, because it's all done with tapping and you have both hands tapping the guitar, you can
Mhm.
really work out complex rhythmic patterns. And so a lot of this music is that. It's just um, constant time signature changes and rhythmic patterns that are like modulating throughout the song.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the thing for this band. That's one of the things that I really approach and try to do a lot of with them. So yeah, from a guitar standpoint, you got two guitarists doing it, and it's constant like odd time signatures, back and forth, all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that you notice that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So for anyone watching, I know you mentioned a war guitar. Can you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's a 12 string touch style guitar. So it's kind of hard to describe, but I have a melody side. And that's six strings. I have a low C sharp. So where like it's kind of tuned like a guitar, but I have a low C sharp instead of like a low E if you're playing a normal six string guitar. But then right on top of that, so the neck is really wide. Right on top of that is a bass, six string bass, basically tuned backwards. I have a low C and it tunes backwards out to a B. So it's all played by tapping, but imagine I kind of think of it like a piano on a fretboard. So the
Wow.
whole, yeah, everything is done via tapping. So that's why, like, I play the role of the bass player with typically speaking, my left hand is playing the more of the bass stuff, and then the
Hmm.
right hand is playing when I take a guitar solo or I play more of a rhythm stuff. And then sometimes with this band, for the more complex bass lines, it's two hands moving to the bass side to play the the more complex bass lines like that. So a guy by the name Mark Warr, Warr,
Hmm.
invented it, and I've been playing them now for I don't know since early 2000. Um, and I started out as a bass player and basically moved to this instrument, and I've been playing it ever since. And can put down all my other instruments to be devote myself to being a war guitarist. So all the music I do now is features the war guitar.
As someone who can barely play on a six string, I cannot imagine. So,
Yeah, it's fun. Like so the you can get a sense of it if the video for Denial Patterns, it's out there now. There's some footage of us playing Prague Stock a couple of years ago, and it's interspersed with some other footage. But there's a good example if you want, if the viewers can want take a look at that video and see what the war guitar looks like and how it is played. So yeah, it's all and the other thing about it is a guitar typically sits more um, uh, horizontal, and a war
mhm.
guitar kind of like flips up, and so it's kind of it comes up here, so you're playing it more like that.
Yeah, well, that
It-
sounds awesome.
yeah.
So I do have just one last question here for you. Is there anything you'd like to say to your previous fans, anyone interested in listening to the album, or just anything in general?
Well, I would say we have what 6 days now until the release, so take a look. So I'm on Trey Gunn from King Crimson. His record label is 7D, formerly of King Crimson. His record label is 7D Media, and I'm on that record label. And so I would say check out the album on 7D Media. You can go to 7dmedia.com, and that's where you could purchase it. Um, and I hope people like this because, like you said, it's a journey. I think that's what I'm aiming for. Is I hope people see and take the time to not just listen to it like I know people listen nowadays, just like one song here, one song there, but try take the time. It's not the longest album in the world. It's like 45 minutes or 46 minutes, but take the time to just put 46 minutes aside and listen to it as the whole complete journey because I think that's how I write music and that's how I
Mhm.
intend it to be listened to. And unfortunately, I know nowadays that's not exactly how people listen to music, but it would be great if people could just sit down with it because I think that's the best way to kind of absorb this album in particular. It's just that um, I feel like the ups and the downs will be missed if you just kind of come in and hear one song here and kind of do it that way. So take the time, hopefully, and I hope everybody enjoys it because, like I said, the amount of time and energy that you put into these things, you really hope that in the end, that people kind of see the vision you had for it and appreciate what it is that you did.
And for anyone watching, I'll put all the links below because it makes it super easy for you guys. You have no excuse not to get it. It does come out on the 17th, so you do have to wait a little bit. The name of the record is Dysphoria Ritual. And if you don't appreciate it, try to play guitar and then listen to it, and you will have a new appreciation.
There you go. I appreciate that.